You've been told your whole life that you're just one person with limited power, but what if that's the biggest lie you've ever believed? Right now, as you're watching this, you might be carrying the weight of problems that feel insurmountable. Maybe it's that work situation that keeps you up at night, or that relationship that feels beyond repair, or just this persistent sense that you're not equipped for the challenges in front of you. This lesson teaches that your essential nature, what it calls your holiness, has unlimited power to transform any situation, whether it involves you or someone else. It's asking you to recognize that you're not the small, powerless person you think you are, but something far more capable of creating change than you've ever imagined. Imagine you've been living your whole life thinking you're just a tenant in a small apartment, worried about rent and repairs, feeling powerless against landlords and neighbors. Every problem feels overwhelming because you have no real authority. The landlord doesn't return calls. The neighbors are loud. The repairs never happen. You feel stuck, small, at the mercy of forces beyond your control. We've all been there. Sarah gets an email from her boss at 11 p.m. criticizing her presentation and demanding changes by morning. Her stomach drops immediately. Not again. Another sleepless night ahead. Another confirmation that she's not good enough. Not fast enough. Not smart enough. She can feel her shoulders tightening. That familiar knot forming in her chest. This is the pattern we know so well. Something happens, an email, a comment, a situation, and instantly we shrink. We become that small, vulnerable person scrambling to fix things, to prove ourselves, to somehow be enough. We've accepted this identity so completely that we don't even question it anymore. Of course, we're just one person with limited options. Of course, some problems are just too big for us. But here's what we miss in that moment of shrinking. We're operating from a case of mistaken identity. Going back to our metaphor, we're still thinking we're just a tenant when something else entirely might be true. Then you discover the deed in your name. You actually own the entire building. Every problem that seemed insurmountable as a tenant suddenly has options you never knew existed. The building didn't change, but your relationship to it transformed completely. You're not at the mercy of the landlord because you are the landlord. Those repairs you've been begging for, you can authorize them today. Those noisy neighbors, you have actual authority to address the situation. Back to Sarah. She's sitting there with that email, and something unexpected happens. Instead of spiraling into panic and self-blame like she always does, she finds herself strangely calm. It's not that she's forcing positivity or pretending the criticism doesn't sting. But there's this quiet sense that she can handle this, not through forcing herself to work all night, not through desperate scrambling to please, but from some deeper place she's just beginning to recognize. She reads the email again. Same words, same demands, but she's seeing it differently. This isn't evidence of her inadequacy. It's just a situation that needs handling, and somehow, she knows she has what it takes to handle it. This is where everything starts to shift. The power we're talking about doesn't work through force or struggle or staying up all night to prove yourself. It works through a kind of quiet recognition. When you stop identifying as the limited, vulnerable person and recognize your deeper nature, problems that seemed impossible suddenly have solutions. Sarah opens her laptop, but not with that frantic energy she knows so well. She looks at her presentation with fresh eyes. She sees what needs adjusting, not because she's inadequate, but because she has the clarity to improve it. She works steadily, calmly, and finishes in half the time it usually takes her. More surprisingly, she sends her boss a professional response acknowledging the feedback and outlining her revisions, without a trace of the usual apologetic scrambling. This isn't positive thinking. This isn't fake confidence. This is what happens when you remember who you really are. When you operate from your true identity, the one that owns the building, instead of the false one you've been carrying around. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. This power isn't limited to your own situations. Remember, as the owner of the building, you have authority over every apartment, not just the one you thought you were renting. That difficult situation your friend is going through, that family member who seems stuck in an impossible pattern. When you recognize your true identity, you see their situations differently too. Not because you're going to march in and fix their lives, that's the old model of power through force. But because when you see from this deeper place, you naturally respond differently. You're not adding to their stress with your own anxiety. You're not confirming their story of limitation. You're holding a different space, seeing a different possibility, and somehow that matters more than you might think. Think about it. How many times has someone else's calm confidence helped you see a situation differently? How many times has someone's quiet faith in you helped you find your own strength? This is the power we're talking about, not the power to control or manipulate, but the power to see truly and respond from wholeness rather than fear. The relief of this recognition is profound. You don't have to become someone different. You don't have to earn this power or develop it through years of practice. You simply have to recognize what's already true. You've been the owner all along. You just forgot and started believing you were a tenant. Every problem in your life right now, every single one, looks different from this perspective. That promotion you think is out of reach. That relationship that seems too damaged. That habit that feels too strong. These aren't evidence of your limitation. They're opportunities to discover and exercise your actual authority. Sarah's story doesn't end with that one email. Over the coming weeks, she notices herself responding differently to all sorts of situations. When her colleague takes credit for her idea in a meeting, instead of shrinking or seething, she calmly and clearly corrects the record. When her mother calls with her usual criticisms, Sarah listens without taking it personally, responding with unexpected warmth. She's not trying to be different. She just is different because she's operating from a different understanding of who she is. This is what becomes possible when you stop accepting the lie of limitation. When you remember that you're not a powerless tenant but the owner of the entire building. When you recognize that there truly is nothing your real nature cannot do, not through force, not through struggle, but through the simple recognition of what you've always been. The problems don't disappear. The emails still come. The challenges still arise, but you meet them from a completely different place, a place of quiet authority and unshakable knowing that you have what it takes. Not because you've become special or enlightened, but because you've finally remembered who you've been all along. If you'd like more teachings and guided practices like this, you can like the video and subscribe. And now, we'll move into a short guided meditation. Take a moment to find a comfortable position. Let your body settle into this space, this moment. There's nothing to fix, nothing to solve right now. Just be here. Notice your breath moving naturally, without trying to change it, in and out. Your body knows how to breathe. It's been doing this your whole life without your management. Bring to mind a situation that's been weighing on you. Don't dive into the story. Just notice it there. Feel how your body responds, maybe a tightening, a heaviness. That's okay. Just notice. Now imagine for a moment that you've been looking at this situation like a tenant worried about rent. Feel that familiar sense of being at the mercy of circumstances, of not having enough power to change things. Breathe gently with that feeling. You don't need to fight it. And now, what if you're not a tenant at all? What if you own the entire building? Not through force or effort, but simply because that's what you are. Feel the subtle shift in your body as you consider this possibility. You don't have to believe it. Just rest in the possibility. What would it feel like to approach this situation knowing you have all the authority you need? Not aggressive authority, but quiet, natural authority. Notice any softening in your body, any sense of space opening up around the problem. The situation hasn't changed, but something in how you're holding it might be shifting. Rest here for a moment, in this recognition that maybe, just maybe, you're not as limited as you thought. Maybe you have access to a power that works through peace rather than struggle. Let that possibility settle into your body like warmth spreading through you. When you're ready, take a deeper breath. Feel your feet on the ground, your body in this chair. You can carry this recognition with you, not as a concept to remember, but as a lived sense of your true capacity. Open your eyes when it feels right, knowing you can return to this recognition whenever you notice yourself shrinking into that old familiar smallness. Thank you for spending this time in practice. A free digital ACIM resource is linked in the description if you'd like it. And if you wish, you're welcome to comment. I am grateful. Thank you for being here, for giving yourself these few minutes to remember who you really are. As you go back into your day, be gentle with yourself when you forget and find yourself feeling small again. The truth of your unlimited nature isn't going anywhere. It's always here waiting for you to remember. Take good care.